oftentimes when we're people pleasers, we say yes to everybody else around us, which is at the consequence of saying no to ourselves, our needs. And so this is why it's very interesting when we have to look at our characteristics as adults that could very well be sabotaging us.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. My best friend, Mr. J, is with us again today. And the link to his previous episode is in the show notes. But we're going to talk about self-confidence. Now, I know you're confident. I know you're competent. I know you're amazing. But sometimes it's us that doubts ourselves. It's not what Lara Jane thinks or Mr. J thinks. It's what do you think? And could you use some help with some self-worth and some self-confidence? And I know that I can all the time. There's always a situation where I could learn just a little bit more confident. So Mr. J is going to help us with this. But before we get started, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. When we come back, let's figure out how to own our self-confidence. We'll be right back. Hey, since I rarely have openings in my coaching schedule, I have a new resource out there on my website. It is called the BFF Coaching Network. And I have offered a spot there for any coach that has been on the show to list the coaching. You can go out there, you can listen to their episodes, you can feel a little bit about them, and then choose a coach that will work for you. So LaraJaneLayton.com, the BFF Coaching Network. All right, Mr. J, the information about using the show notes. So help me get rid of that little dude on my shoulder that keeps saying, you got to work longer or the boss isn't going to like you.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me on. I appreciate your time. One of the things I just want to say right off the bat is I don't know why, and I don't think researchers have found out yet, but we do know that our minds automatically default to the negative. So whenever we hear information or we see something initially or we're watching something, our minds initially, it's just the way we're designed. We haven't discovered why yet. We know we do that, but we don't know why. So one of the things I just want to say to those that are listening is you're already trying to ice skate uphill on a daily basis. So give yourself some mercy, some kindness, some compassion, and some patience, because we are designed by default to go to the negative. And what is the first thing we do when we go to the negative is we start with ourselves. We're not good enough. Our appearance isn't good enough. Our laugh isn't good enough. Our eyes aren't big enough for our eyes. We default. We're very critical. But it's important to really have a stellar self-worth, a stellar self-confidence, and a stellar self-love. Now, notice I didn't say cockiness, confidence. It's important because the relationship that we have with ourselves sets the tone and standard for all other relationships around us. Now, there is some wiggle room with that. What do I mean? Obviously, we're going to have a slightly different relationship with our supervisor, our manager, our boss than we will, say, with our spouse or our child or our neighbor or our parent. There has to be some wiggle room with, where we put our voice and state our needs, because you can state your needs with your spouse, then you state the same needs with your boss, and you're out of paycheck. So there is some wiggle room with that, with how much we can step forward. But regardless, one of the things that we have to do is start with ourselves and working on our intrapersonal relationship. And that is the relationship we have with ourselves. And certainly we can go deeper depending on where this conversation goes.
Sounds like a great thing to do is my relationship with me, because some days I know there's not even an ounce of second guessing. You just go through the day, you flow, you get everything done, no big deal. And there's another day, it's like, oh, you went through your little check sheet, like you might worry about, oh no, maybe he's making fun of my tiny eyes. Maybe he's making fun of my tiny laugh. Guess what? Mr. J didn't think anything about Lara Jane when he was saying those things. But what did I do the second you said those things was, oh, do I have a funny laugh? Oh, are my eyes low? Yeah. So we do look for the, am I not good enough? Well, I do. I'm pretty sure some other people do too.
Oh, that's something everybody struggles with. Listen, I don't care if you are a politician. I don't care if you are a sports figure. I don't care if you are a model or a vagabond. We all have insecurities. And those insecurities often are the loudest voice in our heads. One of the things that I really encourage people to do, well, I mean, there's a lot of things. Number one, do we set daily intentions, whether the night before or the morning of, before we even get out of bed? Do we have a daily intention? And when I mean daily intention, it comes down to two things. Do we have an overarching intention? So, like, one of the things that I started doing a few years ago, and it's really helped me profoundly, is I have a word of the day. I just come up with a word of the day. I think about it and I say, what's really the universe or God or what's speaking to me? What word of the day? And it could be love, it could be compassion, it could be kindness, it could be patient. And then, Laura, what I do is throughout the day, I really often try to remind myself, especially if I'm interacting with people, am I showing them, am I bringing into this interaction my overarching word of the day? Compassion, love, kindness. Now, do I fail? Yes. Do I fail miserably at times? Absolutely. But for the most part, I walk away from each interaction, or certainly by the end of the day, and say, wow, Jay, you know what? You showed a lot of your intention today. Your intention today was compassion. You showed a lot of self compassion and you showed a lot of compassion to others. That builds our self esteem. That builds our self confidence. The other thing, too, is just to simply have a list of things you want to do in a day. And listen, that doesn't necessarily mean, build the Taj Mahal. Okay, cross off. That could be let me respond to two emails. That could be let me do 10 sit-ups. That could be let me make my bed. That could be let me finish doing a load of laundry. And when you do those things, you cross off your list because at the end of the night, when you see that you have, seven things crossed off your list, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, or 12 out of 20, whatever, you feel accomplished. And that raises your self-esteem. Which, side note, I have a quick joke I just want to say is this woman walks into a furniture store and asks the salesperson, excuse me, how many loads of laundry does this hold? And the salesman says, ma'am, that's a dining room table. And she said, and? Because as we all know, it takes about 30 minutes to wash, an hour to dry, and 7 to 10 business days to put away. And that's with every family because, we're busy and so forth. But self esteem, self confidence starts with just doing the little things and giving ourselves pep talks. It's really nice to hear from other people compliments and all these other things. But honestly, the biggest, loudest, and most meaningful voice should be the voice within. And that often starts with doing the little things, keeping your word, such as if I have a word for the day, am I leaning into that word? Other things, doing for others. Listen, there's always something we can do for others. There's always something we can do for others. If we cannot go volunteer and help somebody move, can we drop off a pizza for their moving party? If we can't drop off a pizza for their moving party, can we call somebody else and say, can you help them move? And if we can't do anything, how about just say, you know what, I'm going to pray for you today because you're moving. I know that's hard. We can always do something for others. And when we do for others, we're building our own self-esteem. There's many other things you can do. I tell people, go and get a picture of your younger self. Go and get a picture. I don't know if people are familiar with Mel Robbins. I kind of got this idea from her. And have a younger picture of yourself and put it on in your car, put it on your mirror. And every time you walk by that picture, if you can physically give it a high five, fine. But if not, say, hey, how are you doing today? You and I are rocking this thing called healing, called life. You're beautiful. Did you know that you're amazing? I mean, you constantly want to build yourself up because I'm telling you something. Life, society, and all of its demands are going to do all of it that it can to tear us down. So we have to work, like I said, we're ice skating uphill every day. We have to go above and beyond to do the little things that raise our self confidence. I'm telling you something, let yourself know, even when you're in the shower, man, I'm a good person. Man, I had a good day. Man, I made a difference in the world today. And believe it. Believe that you did because you never know who's reading you. You are a book and you never know who's reading you. You never know who's getting inspired by you. You could be in the grocery store, or somebody could be watching your podcast, Laura, that maybe you did years ago. And next thing you know, they're telling their daughter, who's telling their best friend, who's telling their mother, who's going through a hard time. This is what I heard from this Laura show. You don't know who you're inspiring. So you got to tell yourself in the shower, I know I inspired people today. I might not have heard about it, but I know I did.
I love that because all of us can do that in any situation. Um, just yeah, how many friends do you just kind of go past your brain during the day? Wonder how Margaret's doing. I wonder how Natina's doing. And you go through it, but do I ever reach out? Well, yeah, but not as often as I could. And I'm not saying whether I should or shouldn't. I could have,
Hmm.
I could blast open their phone and they'd get so sick of me from all my messages. But where's that balance of, are you checking in with you? Because, you're talking about all these things that we could do, and it's like sometimes we don't think, "What is it that I really want?" I use this measuring stick. I'm successful if I go to the office at least 5 days a week, at least 8 hours a day. I'm even more successful if I burn myself out for my right? So, why is that considered more successful? Because 'Cause we're looking at it wrong. How do we change the way we look at things to think of our own personal, physical, and mental stability as our success, not just the house around us?
Yeah. Well, so first I would take a step back and ask yourself, where is my self worth? Because your self worth is going to speak to your what you need. And a lot of times, if our self worth is low, then what we need usually winds up in a form of numbing, distracting, avoiding, coping with, which is usually unhealthy coping mechanisms. So a lot of times, I talk to clients all the time. I'll say, listen, you can't heal anything you don't feel. And as uncomfortable as it is, you got to sit with yourself and sit in the discomfort. And a lot of times, what people will do the minute they sit down, oh, I got to watch my show. The minute they sit down, oh, I gotta go pick up a cigarette. Oh, I gotta go take a snack. I gotta stop. Stop. Those are all coping mechanisms. Those are all mechanisms to avoid, to numb, to distract. Sit down. Sit. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be uncomfortable. But not only does this help you on the onset, but it also helps you get in tune with your body and your feelings. I'm gonna give you a very quick example. Growing up, and I've had a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of childhood trauma. Growing up at the early age of teens, I became a chocoholic. And when I say chocoholic, I mean I went into the grocery store and I would buy three king size candy bars and I would eat them while I was shopping. And that would tide me over until I left. And when I would cash out, I'd buy three more candy bars and eat them on the way home. And I would eat chocolate all day long. All day long. That was everything for breakfast, lunch. I was a chocoholic. It wasn't until I got to be older and I really started doing a lot of trauma work that I realized that chocolate was my drug of choice. And so then I realized, wow, every time I felt anxious, every time I felt stressed, every time I felt anything, hyper vigilant, traumatized, what have you, my fix, my drug of choice, run and go get that dopamine feeling that chocolate gives you. And so I used it as a coping mechanism. I used it to numb. I used it to avoid because instead of thinking about my pain, oh, let me open up this Mars bar or this Dream. So I used it as my drug. So I've done a lot of work. Now, let me just say this just for your listeners, because I don't want them to think that, just because you know something, it's an end all be all cure all panacea. To this day, I still have cravings for chocolate just as much as I probably always have. The difference is I don't immediately jump up and run to chocolate. Now I sit with my feelings and I ask myself, am I having a trauma response? Am I trying to avoid something? Whatever. And a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times that passes and I don't wind up having chocolate. And chocolate's great, fine, and dandy when you're younger, but I'm in my 50s now. So it creeps up on you real quick. Eat all that chocolate. So I think people just really need to sit in their pain, sit in their discomfort, because that helps us get to know ourselves. And when you get to know yourself, That adds to your self-confidence.
So when I get to know myself, then I will I'll just naturally be more self-confident because I'll know what to expect. Like,
Absolutely. And here's the deal too. And when you know yourself, you can also help with your boundaries. And we all need boundaries. And when our boundaries get violated, that chips away at our self-worth. The problem is half the people, well, a lot of us don't know who we are. So we don't even know how to set boundaries. We don't know how to enforce boundaries. And so because of that, our confidence is constantly being chipped away as something we just simply don't know how to do. And boundaries are very important for self love. Just in general, and I'm on this big tangent now, but just in general, the more you know, the more you grow. Simple as that. The more you know, the more you grow. Do you know? I don't know if you ever heard of five love languages. So there's the five love languages. Did you also know that we all have an apology language? Do you also know that we all have a mourning and grieving language? We there's these different languages that we all have, and so we have them and we go to speak to others with that, whether it's a grief language, whether that's an apology language, whether that's a love language, and we're not being effective. So we want to be effective. We not only want to be effective reaching out to people, we want people to be effective to us. How are people going to be effective to us if we don't even know our own apology language? Because listen, when you hear an apology, one person might be listening for planned change. The next person might be listening for regret. Another person might be listening for, well, do you realize what you. So we all, when somebody's apologizing to us, we're listening for something that we need. But what are they doing? They're apologizing using the words that they would like to hear. We are far more than human beings. We're human evolvements. We're evolving. We're not the same person we are today that we were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're not going to be the same person 2 years from now than we are today. We have to constantly get to know who we are, constantly build those bridges to who we are, and then, of course, extend those bridges to other people. Now, you did mention friends. One of my things that I do, and I don't know if it's bad, I don't know if it's self serving, I hope it's nice and authentic, is I know a lot of times when I reach out to people, to them, it's an opportunity to open up a conversation, and I just don't have the time for the conversation. So, what I'll do is I will reach out to them, and I will say, hey, just about to get in my car to run to the store, but just want to know I'm thinking about you and I love you. Hey, just about to jump in the shower to go to bed, but just want to let you know I thought of you today. Whatever. That way I'm letting them know I don't really have the capacity for a conversation, but I do want to let you know I'm thinking about you and you're special in my life.
that's for texting's nice.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Except for it's not as personal, huh? I do, really thinking through this self-worth and, yeah, what inspires someone to continue to grow? Sometimes it's our pain. So when we go through a pain point, I was like, I never want to go through that again. So let me change. I don't know if I've ever gone, oh, that was such a great day. Let me change. It's like, oh, let me keep doing what I'm doing. So, some of our worst moments are what inspired our greatest achievements or our greatest change.
Yeah. Laura, listen, there is no growth without loss. You can't even get into heaven without losing your life. So there's no growth without loss. The problem is we don't like to lose. As a humanity, nobody wants to lose things. We don't want to lose trust. We don't want to lose money. We don't want to lose. We don't want to lose. But in losing these things, we grow and we elevate and we learn. Well, hopefully, because I always say there's two options when we go through something. Either you paid a tuition or you paid fee. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a friend that just called me recently. He was like, I'm so sick of this. I got my fourth speeding ticket of my life. And I said, well, here's the deal. These are obviously fees. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, listen, anytime we go through something, if we learn from it and do better and differently, so we don't repeat the same behavior, then we pay a tuition. So pay the ticket and it was tuition, change your behavior. But all you're doing is paying fees. You're not learning from this. So you're going to keep circling this train and good luck. And before you know it, your license is going to be taken away. How many speeding tickets can you get before they start jeopardizing your life? So anytime we go through something, you have to either ask yourself, do I want to pay a fee or do I want to pay tuition? And if you decide you want to pay tuition and you learn from it, that's where growth occurs.
I like that. I've never used that analogy of fee versus tuition, but it is so true. And, a lot of times I go, what am I learning from this? And it's like sometimes I can't put my finger on what I'm supposed to learn. It might be something 10 years down the line that go, oh, that's what I learned. So I like that it's just, I just paid tuition. Didn't have to take a test to pass. I learned something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, yeah. And keep in mind, especially for those listening, that it's not the devastation that is the growth. It's the lessons from the devastation. It's the silver linings in the damage that we look for. That we look. I don't know if you ever heard of kintsugi. It's a Japanese word for when pottery breaks,
Oh, yes.
you glue it back together with like gold glue, and that's because first of all, we're all broken. We are all broken. We're beautifully broken, but we're broken. But you know something? It's within our brokenness that makes us unique and special. Listen, my entire career, which is thriving, by the way, came out of my brokenness. I'm using the wisdom born from pain to help others not have to go through the same crap I went through. Being broke is not fun, but the lessons from it can be beautiful. And that's where growth comes in. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with saying I'm broken. I've been broke. I've mended myself. I'm stronger than I was. I
Well,
could
maybe we're
break
a little bent.
again. I could break again. I could fix again. I was like, that's a new one for me. But to
We've all
allow
been broke.
yourself to
How
be
about that? We've
okay.
all been broken.
Yeah. But to be okay with sharing that brokenness. Like I'm not broken anymore, but look how beautiful it's turned out. And obviously the pottery that's been put back together with gold is it's stunningly beautiful. And that's what our lessons or the things that we go through give us if you choose. What is that saying? Whether you are polished up or polished down depends on what you're made from.
Yeah.
You can let it tear you apart. You can make it devastate you. But if you allow yourself to rebuild and to use wisdom, and you become more beautiful.
Absolutely. And not only that, relatable. And I think that's what a lot of the reason we're here on earth is to create a society and to socialize and to help one another. And the only reason to do that is with a sense of relatability. And you can't relate to the majority of masses because we've all at one point or another have been broken. And so we're relatable on that. But one of the things that I often, there's an assessment that I give my clients. It's called a saboteur assessment. And basically, what I do is I go through a process of questions and they answer the questions. And then I tell them what their saboteurs are. And a lot of times, their saboteurs could be, let's just say, avoider, or let's just say their saboteurs are people pleasers. And here's what's interesting: our saboteurs as adults actually sabotage us. They sabotage success, they sabotage relationships, they sabotage growth. But where they came from were coping mechanisms in our childhood. And let me give you an example. Let's just say, for example, your mother was a raging alcoholic, right? Your mother was a raging alcoholic. So you learned when you were younger, I need to avoid mom to keep safe. So if I avoid mom, I'm not going to get hit. I'm not going to be called names. I'm just going to go have dinner, be quiet, go to my room. I avoid her. That keeps me safe. Well, now you grow up and you get into relationships and your whole disposition is to avoid. Well, if I avoid my spouse, I won't I won't get into conflict with them. Well, your spouse doesn't want you to avoid certain things. You need to engage, you need to talk, you need to be proactive and bring up things. So now that sabotages us. Same thing, let's just say when you're younger, all your mother cared about was your report card and your grades. So what you did is, man, you went above and beyond to bust your butt to get good grades and come home and clean the kitchen and say, yes, ma'am. And how high would you like me to jump and whatever I can do to please my mother? Because when my mother only cares about my achievements, I'm safe. I don't get called names. I don't get hit. I don't get consequences. I don't get sent to my bedroom. I get to eat dinner. That pleasing my mother keeps me safe. Well, now you grow up and you learn to be a people pleaser. And that's not good because that comes back to you. Because oftentimes when we're people pleasers, we say yes to everybody else around us, which is at the consequence of saying, saying no to ourselves, our needs. And so this is why it's very interesting when we have to look at our characteristics as adults that could very well be sabotaging us. Understand they did work for us at one point. However, they just don't work for us anymore. So it's something so this is what I'm saying. The more you know, the more you grow. So I really, there's people that are lifelong learners in many areas of life. Be a lifelong learner of who you are. For instance, how do you grieve? Like, for instance, my spouse is grieving. Man, we got to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk until I'm blue in the face. If I go through a loss and I'm grieving, I need to go in my bedroom, shut the door, and be alone. So, but if you don't know that about yourself, then how are you going to verbalize that and set expectations for those around you? I need a little me time right now. Or if I didn't, I need to engage and socialize and talk this through. So again, the more you know, the more you grow.
And I love how you're using that example because it's so important for us to share. People,
Yes.
we default thinking people like things like we do.
Yeah.
And if you really are going to be honoring the other person and their position, we need to think about what they would like and not how would I like this? And that's so hard to do because we don't know them. But if you know yourself, you can share that before it's too late. Like I've shared this before. Like, I don't know how many interviews I sat through and said, I'm an awful speller. I am this. I am this. If I get frustrated, I have to walk away. I will
Hmm.
come back and I'll clean it up, but I walk away.
Hmm.
And it's like, I don't want you surprised when I'm here. These are the things that are just the way it is.
Hmm.
And by communicating it, whether they thought you were exaggerating or what is beside the point.
Yeah.
It's that you now set the boundary of don't rag on me if I misspelled something.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you something. And again, this comes back to us. Even if you tell somebody something, even if you share something with somebody and they choose to dishonor or disrespect what you're sharing with them, you still have a responsibility to talk to your own self. And if you happen to mess up or somebody calls you on your mess up, then you tell yourself, I'm still amazing. I'm still adorable. I'm still it. And you know something? I'm still human and humans are fallible and humans make mistakes. But it's important to tell yourself, I'm still amazing. I'm still wonderful. I love a song by Barbara Streisand. I forgot the name of the song, but she said, there's no mistakes in life, just lessons to be learned.
Yeah. And when people say, "Oh, I failed," it's like Thomas Edison, I learned another way that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That wasn't a failure. It was there's another way that doesn't work. And it's if you can look at your life like that, you don't have to brush yourself off from the failure. You didn't fail. You just got one more step closer to where you're going. And
Yeah.
it's how we frame things in our minds that can give us that friendliness, that part
Yeah.
that needed to exist. So, yeah, I love it.
And it's not how many times you fall off the horse, it's how many times you get back on. I mean, I think, isn't that, I don't know if I'm dating myself, Formula 409, that was out a while ago, whatever. And that was a spray agent. And basically, from what I recall reading, it took the creators 408 failed attempts at this agent before they said, let's give it another try. And then the 409th try, there was an agent that actually achieved what they wanted it to achieve. Thus came out with Formula 409, which sold and they're, millionaires. So, we never know how close we are to success if we give up.
Well, and you never know where the success is going to come from either. So, that same type of story with 409, think about sticky notes, 3M or making a attaching gluey thing that didn't work. It
Yeah.
wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. But look what it did. Who doesn't
Yeah.
use a sticky note now and then? And so somebody's failed attempt ended up being a brilliant invention for other things. So who cares where it comes from? Whether it's I finally did it or I failed and I used it for something else. That works.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And now bringing this back, I just want to say, getting back to self-esteem and self-worth, I do want to recommend, and I know a lot of people cannot stand to write or journal. But if somebody can write or journal, I do highly recommend people write or journal, because when we have thoughts in our mind, which who doesn't have thoughts in their mind? When we have thoughts in our mind, because they usually default to the negative, what is one of the best things to do is just get our thoughts on paper. So really, to journal is one of the best things. Now, I'll also say this. I took a class at UC Berkeley on the science of happiness, and they did a very long-term study on what is the best correlation for people to be happy, and they have found one of the best correlations that make people happy is, drum roll, gratitude. Just being grateful, just being grateful. And I'm going to tell you something. In the day and age that we're living in, anyone that cannot look around them and be grateful for a handful of things at any moment, that would be very indicative of me knowing how you feel about yourself. So now here's the deal. I recommend a lot of my clients that want to work on self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, and so forth, is a gratitude journal. And for anyone listening, here's my recommendation. What you do, if you can, once a day, is you write down three things you're thankful for, but for each, three reasons why. So, for example, you can write down one day, I'm thankful for my nose. Well, three reasons why. Number one, because when I turn sideways, it gives my profile a good look. Number two, because when I bake pizza and cookies, it allows me to smell and enjoy the outcome of my labor. And three, if I'm ever smelling smoke or fire, I can run, so it keeps me out of danger. So I love my nose for those three reasons. So it's not just writing down things you're thankful for, it's writing down the reasons why you're thankful. And in this course, The Science of Happiness from UC Berkeley, that is the studied and researched outcome of really what makes people happy. And internal happiness leads to our joy, and joy leads to self confidence and worth.
Interesting. And I do have a gratitude journal, but mine's just three things that I'm thankful for. I got some work to do.
Yeah, a little bit of work to do.
I'll just change it tomorrow. It will be plus three things for each that I have a reason. And you know what? Why not delve a little deeper? Why not look deeper inside? If we only look at the first thing you see, it can be deceiving. It's like
Yeah,
those trick pictures. Go
absolutely.
ahead.
And I just want to say there's a big difference between the what and the why. So when you ask somebody, what are you thankful for? Sure. But it's a little deeper when you go why, and that hits a little bit more home.
Yeah. A lot
Um,
more thought process behind it. Thankful for my husband. Yeah, done. Oh, or spouse, or, you know, oh, wait, I have to think of three reasons why.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Although it's very easy sometimes, after you've been married for 20 years, you get up in the morning and roll over and say, oh, you again? But I'll tell you something, even a gratitude journal when it comes to marriage, that could really make or break the intimacy in your marriage as well. Because listen, we all, when we get into relationships, we get into a routine, we get into a rhythm, we get complacent. It's very important that we continuously remind ourselves why we appreciate the person we're with. Not to say that there's not things that we can't work on individually and as a couple, but I'm watching a show. This is just random. I'm watching a show and it's called um, Back to Frontier. And what they do is they take three families and they put them back in the 1800s. And do you know, I was watching this and it's so interesting because, well, first of all, the teenagers have a hard time because teenagers nowadays, they can't put their phone down for more than 5 minutes. And back in the 1800s, there's no such thing as a phone. So, cell phones. So, or any phone. So, so it's interesting, but it really makes you appreciate where we've come today. And what's even equally amazing with that is the more you have, and studies have shown this, the more you have and the more options you have, the less happy you are. So, for instance, when you go to the movies back in the day, they were like, "Do you want M&Ms, peanut or no peanut?" Those were your options. Now there's 90 different options of sweets and candies and treats and popcorn or whatever. That didn't make us more happier. We're not, actually. So less is more when it comes to life. And I love this show because it brings you back to less and it gives family a perspective of more.
I lived off the grid for a couple years, so I know it can be very, very, very hard.
Oh,
But
oh, and yeah.
at the same time, I learned how resilient I really can be, you know? And how important is it that the house is warm in the middle of the night? If
Hmm.
I could just snuggle in and under a blanket enough, it's okay to just get it warm in the morning.
Yeah.
So your life is very, very different when you do something that extreme because you don't have a thermostat. You don't have running water. You don't have indoor plumbing. So you've got a lot
No.
of things to adjust to. And
And
it
you can't
really
run to Google
shows you a lot yeah.
about yourself, resilience and strength. Absolutely. And that builds on your self confidence. Absolutely.
And I like running to Google and Chat GBT. They're my answers of the day, people.
They are. Actually, on a professional note, I'm getting a lot of my clients now that are going to Chat GPT, which I'm fine with. I'm absolutely fine with because I think you can get a lot of great information from Chat GPT. However, somebody in my field specifically, you still want that one-on-one interaction, that feedback, from a professional. But I think Chat GPT in a lot of ways is phenomenal.
I know some people are using it as their therapist. It's like, he doesn't give me the answers I want when I know what I want. Why would I trust? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's a good resource. I don't think it's good for primary, but it's definitely a good resource. It's also a scary one too. Not to derail this conversation, but I heard the other day that some politicians were looking to give AI fundamental rights, and what would that lead to? Them voting? I mean, then what? I mean, we're in for some scary times with AI. So, with anything, we can either use it for the good or use it to manipulate for the bad.
Yes, everything, there is no good or bad. It just is. And it's how we
Yeah,
react and respond to it that makes it good or bad for us.
yeah.
Hey, it's been a lot of fun talking with you. I'd like to have you share a little bit more about your actual practice, what you do, um, and how they can get a hold of you.
Sure. So I am a betrayal trauma practitioner, and what I do is I help couples navigate, repair, rebuild, and reconciliation after broken trust. So if your relationship has experienced some type of betrayal, deception, infidelity, some type of broken trust, and you decide you want to repair, I help couples navigate that journey of repair. Now, obviously, I also work outside that scope. I'm also an intrapersonal relationship coach. So I also help people with the relationship they have with themselves, as far as what we talked about today. I also help people that decide to separate, leave, and divorce. If you want to do that too, that's absolutely your choice. But that is my focus and my primary field. It's a niche within a niche. It's betrayal trauma, which is something that's kind of it's a newer concept. It's been around for a while, but we're newly researching it. Anyways, my website's mrjrelationshipcoach.com. And as I always say, even if people never want to talk to me or hear my voice or book a session, that's fine. I have a lot of nice free resources, including interviews such as yourself on my website. So if nothing else, my website, mrjrelationshipcoach.com, and just take advantage of the free resources.
It's been great to talk to you again because I really enjoy how dynamic you just, some people have to search for the answers, you just have them. And so it's really nice to have that quick response. So thank you so much. How about sharing with our friend that one thing they can try this week to help them be a little bit more self confident?
Well, I'll just repeat something that I said in this interview. Come up with a statement you're comfortable with, and say it when you make a mistake. So, for example, if you make a mistake, let's just say you miss a turn when you're driving. Let's just say you forgot something that was on your grocery list, whatever. Get in the habit of telling yourself, aren't I amazing? Period. Let every aspect of life has a way to tear us down. You gotta lift yourself up. So come up with a quote and use it often.
Sounds perfect. I'll have to come up with that quote though. All right. Thank you, Jay. That's been great. I'm definitely going to have fun doing this challenge this week. I like doing them. So, friend, thank you for joining us. Mr. J and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We're here for entertainment, people that just want to see you live your best life. So, thank you for joining and stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.